If you put your pocket change into sponsoring the video of him, I mean, that's net neutral in the new millennium. I don't know if that made any sense.
Hello, dear listener. Welcome back to Hitmakers, the show about... what is my show about? People doing it their way in the creative industries, working the arts, based on the East Coast of Canada. My name's Ryan. This is my show. I live in St. John, New Brunswick, originally from Prince Edward Island. Lived in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and played in a band based out of there for a bunch of years. So here we are in Season 2. Season 1, we talked almost exclusively to drummers. Season 2, we are zooming out a little bit and talking to people who do different things, partially because I have more interest than just drumming, but also because I know a lot of interesting people. And I think as a region, we have a wealth of talent here. It's not necessarily covered a whole lot, and I think we're interesting and deserve to be talked about. So here we are. So today on the show, I have my 3 younger brothers. This was recorded while we were all home for Christmas. You may or may not know I'm the oldest of 6 children, and I've got 3 younger brothers, all a couple years apart in age. They live in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and it's been nice for me because as I get older, they keep me young. They're all in their 20s, and now I run into people who play in bands currently, and they know my bros already if they don't know me. Anyway, this is a fun conversation. They all kind of have their own hustles, as you're going to hear. James does stand-up comedy. He hosts a pretty popular alternative comedy night in Montreal. Micah is like kind of a technical dude. He records bands, and he was working at a guitar pedal company for a while. I actually chatted with him for about a half hour about recording before this happened, so we're going to air that at a later date. And Steve is like the quiet genius of the bunch, who is semi-retired from the music scene, I guess. He is doing engineering, physics kind of stuff. You're going to hear all about it. I'll put links to their stuff in the show notes at learndrums.ca/hitmakers. All right, here we go. Yeah. You did a half hour? Uh-huh.
Hello.
You snooze, you lose. We got a couple of big stars, and now we've got a couple of, I guess the term would be wannabes. Just joking. So I'm hanging out in... Pardon me?
It's a very rude joke. I don't know what type of rinky-dink operation you're running here.
It's a Mickey Mouse operation, actually.
Even worse.
I'm hanging out in Richmond, Prince Edward Island with my 3 younger brothers.
Wow, he really threw the younger in there, didn't he?
Oh, I'm hanging out with... I have no idea how old these people are. They are...
James Brown.
Steve Brown.
Micah Brown.
And I am Ryan Brown. So, what's going on, gang?
It's Boxing Day morning. Everyone's a little under the weather. It was a bit of a late Christmas night.
Oh, and it is hot in this room. And we're all from Montreal.
It's only going to get hotter.
It's only about to get hotter.
We're drinking warm beer to make ourselves feel good.
Do you feel good? Is it working?
It's getting there.
All right. So, for my audience's enjoyment, I just want to check in with you guys, see what you've all been up to. And also, I will say, so for the purposes of this season, which haven't really been spelled out yet, last season we were talking to drummers about what they do. This season we are getting out into the community a little more, talking to people about their projects, what they got going on, how they kind of make it work on their own, and just hanging out, having a good time.
I like it.
You like a good time?
Yeah, I love a good time.
Oh, well, we are in business, my friends. All right, so we were just talking to Micah about recording, which you may wind up hearing after I say this. There may be some time travel involved.
Absolutely.
You know, especially as we're talking about kind of chopping up recordings and how I am of the opinion that things should be totally natural and we should not mess with them. I'm then going to take our conversation from earlier and put it later into the episode, just to confuse the listener.
Well, I don't think it's overly time dependent, but I also think, sometimes it's really good to just ditch your morals.
Oh, I have no scruples. All right, so who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
James Brown, what you been up to?
We all three of us live in Montreal, doing vastly different things.
I'm gonna cut you off for a second, just to
I hit a
just so
a
people
hot point to start.
So people know, James is a fellow drummer, or has been historically. He played drums in bands like
Akuzma,
Gutless Wonder.
Those were pretty much the big two.
Yep. He played guitar and was a lead singer in a, what would you call it, a folk punk band?
Yep. Two Jar Grind.
Uh-huh. And these days is operating as a stand-up comic.
Yeah. So I am, that's sort of become my full-time muse. So I'll do shows about town, but mostly my main focus is I run a show called Squad Laughs in Montreal. And it has sort of expanded. It began in the living room of an apartment that Steve and I shared about 2.5 years ago. And it was originally just sort of a party with our friends where we forced them to tell jokes.
How would you force them?
I would, whenever we would be like weeks prior drinking and people were feeling good and confident, I would make them say that they would perform at this comedy show, and then I would follow up. And I would, a bit of a guilt trip style thing.
Did they try to back out of it?
Yeah, people always backed out of it. But if you...
I don't know. I don't have any jokes.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Succeeded in backing out of it.
Yeah. A lot of them succeeded in backing out of it. But if you cast a wide net and then you get a couple bites and then you just annoy the people that said they would until they feel like they owe you as a person 5 minutes worth of stand-up material, that is how you build a stand-up community, in my opinion.
It's a really good tactic. See, people don't owe you anything, but then you nag them so much that they feel like they do.
Right, yeah.
Sort of exploit your friends for entertainment was my idea going into it, and it actually worked pretty well. After 4 shows in the living room, we had to expand out to a larger venue. And then after 3 shows in that venue, we had to get an even bigger spot. So now we
3 shows
operate.
in the vintage shop.
Yeah, we had it at this really weird old vintage shop that had like a bunch of briefcases and skulls everywhere.
Cool.
Very
I really
macabre.
loved that spot, but it could fit about 50 people max, and we outgrew that pretty quick. So now we operate out of a spot in Montreal called The Plant. They do a lot of music shows, and they could fit, I don't know, a lot more. So we'll usually draw 60, 70 people. Sometimes it's been up to 100. Sometimes it's been as low as 30.
As low as 30.
Yeah, I know.
30's still not bad, man.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's gotten to a point where we like financially have to operate off of the assumption that we're going to get about 60 or so. And so whenever 30 happens, it's a bit of a bummer, but then it's also great because it is a lot of people at a show. But I think it's good to be at this point where I have this expectation for the show that 30 is not quite good enough in my
30 doesn't
mind.
cut it.
Yeah.
And how long has it been going on? You say you do it, once a month?
Yeah, we do it monthly now.
Yeah.
It historically was once every 2 months for like a year and a half. But we started it 2.5 years ago. Yeah, it just tried to do constant small growth. I think it's been able to grow because it started just as a party at my house, and everyone sort of felt an obligation to come. And then as it expanded to be a public event, I still had this core group of like 30 or so people who sort of felt like it was like still their thing. And I think that's actually waned a little bit as of late. I think like the crowds for the most part are half people I know, maybe acquaintances of mine, and then there's a bunch more strangers than I originally anticipated would ever want to come to my comedy show.
But that's cool, right? That is the challenge of, I think, doing anything independently, which is how do you move beyond doing it for your friends and family only?
Totally. Yeah, it's weird to like work door or something and then just not know the people coming in, because I'm like, what are you doing here? Don't you have better things to do?
Yeah. This sucks, right?
Coming here, yeah.
How'd you get into stand-up comedy?
I think I always sort of wanted to do it, or always sort of thought that I was funny.
I can vouch for that. I think we all can.
And then I couldn't really play drums anymore because my ears sort of broke. So I needed to do something else that was quieter. And stand-up comedy, it seemed like something worth trying. I figured I could do it once, and then after I did it once, I just didn't really want to stop. And I think, too, I don't know if I would have done it for as long if I didn't start doing a show in my house or start making it more of a social thing with, I guess, the people I was already directly connected with. Because I found for a while just going to open mics and stuff just wasn't very fun. And it's just comics, there's no audience. And all of the comics just like if you don't already know them, I don't think in general some of them are a very friendly bunch.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least not like, I don't know. Plus, everyone's like so individual. If you play in bands, you're there with a couple of your friends anyways because they're your bandmates, so you have people to hang out with. But if you go alone to do a mic, you're pretty much just alone. And it's like if you're a very outgoing person, you can go and talk to people and have fun. But I find I'm okay at that. I'm not great at it.
Yeah, it can be kind of a drag, I would say, as somebody who has done a lot of music open mics. That can certainly be the scene, especially if you go into a new place where you don't know anybody. Like I found doing them around Halifax, you'd run into the same people at each one, and so you get to know them that way. But it is also funny, especially for somebody like me who's like, I have kind of a group of friends that I associate with. I'm not out looking to make new ones necessarily. Like that's not why I'm there.
Plus, the unfortunate thing sometimes about an open mic scenario is like maybe there's one person whose material I like.
Yeah.
And then the other people, it's like, I don't know, I think you're probably a fine person, but I do have somewhat of a difficulty wanting to get to know someone whose material I think is not good.
Well, I found with music, too, it's like somebody can be good, but it's just not my style. Like, I'm not looking to exist in the world that they're trying to exist in.
Mm-hmm.
So then I start to wonder, well, am I in the wrong place?
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, so those things are interesting. It's just such a hodgepodge that I don't think it's the best place for anyone to be in, but it's definitely the room where you can go do your thing and try it out for a while before people start to actually like give you money or book you for things.
Now, with a comedy open mic, especially if the audience is only other comics, like how much of what you do is based on interacting with the crowd?
If it's comics, you do not do any crowd work.
They
wouldn't
no
give you
interaction.
anything. Yeah.
But it would be hard to even make them laugh, I would think.
Oh, yeah. It's just near impossible. And I found it's funny because people will always laugh at their friends' jokes. That's what I found going into it a little bit. Whenever I didn't know anyone, it's like I would go up and tell them, and this seems maybe a little bit jaded or a little bit, maybe I think too highly of myself, but I would just go up and tell like fine jokes and then not really get anything, and then people would go up and tell like jokes that, in my opinion, were not better than the ones I just told. But it's like the people that they know would give like a bit of a laugh. So I felt like it's a very like prove it environment and prove yourself, prove you're cool sort of thing. Which I found sort of frustrating.
Oh, dude.
But which is, I don't know. But then what I found with all those shows and what I feel like I can say now that I run one of the more successful shows in Montreal is like, well, go get an audience, guys.
Ouch. Shots fired. I would say I feel that, though. That's like when I played Cards Against Humanity. It's the same thing as like, the most popular shows are not my favorite shows on TV necessarily.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that people shouldn't watch them. It just means I don't get why people like them. But I definitely found that like where especially when you're a game, you're like based on winning. You're like, I clearly had the best answer. You people just have a weak sense of humor.
But that's like speaking as to people your friends enjoying your jokes, or people who like the idea of being friends with you, maybe enjoy your stuff. That's a big like Rivers Cuomo thing where he says before the Blue Album came out, Weezer's playing like all of their hits in these bars and nobody cares.
Yeah.
But he's like, I know they're hits. And gets proven right ultimately. But it is a thing where, in that sense, unless the people want to laugh with you.
That's crazy. I didn't realize that.
I think there's a certain aspect, especially if you're just starting out, which is the vast majority of people, but don't have an audience built in. That can sort of be liberating in the sense that if you realize that, it's like, okay, you might not be the cool person, but then you don't have to say, oh, I can't play that show because it's not going to do anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's kind of the nice thing about the open mic, I certainly found, is that you can get out and play. You don't have to tell anybody you're doing it. You don't have to try and get people out. Mm-hmm. The show is not a failure no matter what because you got up and did it.
It's not your, obviously that open mic is your event, James, but like the open mic is not the comics event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's, a difficult crowd is ultimately good for you. Just in terms of skill building, and a lot of rooms are not. I feel like a lot of comedy shows have a real lack of laughter sometimes.
Just rooms without joy.
Yeah, it's a real black hole of happiness in the city. Which is, it's interesting, but it's because a lot of comedy shows don't really have an audience, which is fine. How many people actually want to go to the comedy open mic on a Wednesday night? My guess is not that. Well, no, I know it's not that many
comics.
But it's
especially the amateur comedy.
Yeah,
like,
even doing it, it's like sometimes you just don't want to be there because you don't know what you'll get. And comedy is a thing where if it's bad, it's quite bad.
Yeah,
I feel like with music, someone can go up and play a couple songs, and you're like, they're not very good, but whatever. With comedy, it's so awkward. It's it's a participatory action. So you as the audience are doing something by doing nothing. If you're not laughing, then you're contributing to this really tense environment that is uncomfortable for everyone.
Well, yeah, and it's like there obviously is that expectation because there are these spots where it's supposed to happen. And I've seen it happen where just for whatever reason, the performer's not engaging. For one thing, maybe the mic is just not loud enough and you can't really hear them. And that's a real thing. If you're chatting with your friends, like if there's somebody up playing Hotel California on the guitar, you're not necessarily expected to be hanging off everything they're playing.
No, absolutely not.
But with comedy, you're supposed to be listening.
Yeah, if you're not listening, you're like rude. And the performer could even call you out for it or something. It's weird though. It's weird to be in those rooms and then have like jokes that It's like the Rivers Cuomo thing that Steve brought up. To have these things that work and that have been quite successful in the past, just not work.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really funny feeling and builds sort of a necessary skill of, it's a combination, I think, of self-assurance and also just like disregard of what other people are, how other people are responding to you in the immediate. Because it's like, I probably have 10 minutes that I know are golden.
Right.
And that like I've done it in a fair bit of different rooms. I've done it in small rooms and it works great. And I've done it in like literally in front of 500 people and it worked great there. And then to go to this weird mic over here and perform that material and not get a single laugh is really, it is fun in a weird sort of way.
It changes the game. It changes what you're doing.
Yeah.
That was a thing that I found when I tried busking over the summer. Because the thing that I found, number one, is like you get people who are off a cruise ship. They all listen to different music. There's nothing that I can play that is going to make everybody happy. Most people aren't going to engage. And if you stop basing your success on whether everybody likes you, the real flip for me was when I discovered I didn't have to play to them; I could play at them.
Yeah, totally.
Seriously,
that's it. Because you're just the busker, and you'll never become more than that for them. They'll never be like, "Oh, I wonder if this guy's in a band."
No,
I wonder if he has CDs to sell me. It's like, here's a guy with a guitar right now.
Yep.
And that's all.
He wants some money, and I'm gonna avoid eye contact, but I am gonna look in his guitar case to see how much money he has.
Yeah, exactly.
See if I should feel bad or...
Yeah.
And if there's none,
They can see you doing that.
If there's none, I might give him a little bit. If there's a lot, I might give him a little bit. If there's a medium amount, I'm just gonna keep on walking.
Well, I was just gonna ask that. Do you think? Because we talked a little bit about group mentality, and if the crowd's behind you, then people will sort of feel like they want to be part of something. Does that transfer over to the busker guitar case change?
Yes, I think it absolutely does.
Okay.
If there's nothing in the case, people feel no pressure. I do think there's a certain amount of social obligation, and I think that's why people look. If other people seem to be contributing, then I will feel like I ought to do it too. If nobody does, I'm off the hook. Yeah, and if like too many people have, I'm also off the hook because they obviously don't need it from me.
Okay, so question for you then. When you're busking, do you fill your own guitar case with money to start? And if so, how much?
Absolutely. And
It's called a float.
Yeah. Not kidding. When I was doing it regularly, I would just leave all of the change in the guitar case that I got, and I would take handfuls out when I needed it for something. But otherwise, it just lived in there. And yeah, it's called salting your case.
Really?
Salting it. Do you know where that originated?
No.
Wow. Because I feel like I don't even salt anything at this point aside from what... I guess it would be a cuisine or a meat or something.
Right, yes.
You salt it to prepare it for...
Perhaps a low-quality beer.
A low-quality beer, some water if you have a sore throat.
Maybe it was a legal term.
Salting your case.
Salting your case.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Make it a little bit more palatable.
Yeah, exactly. Make it, the other thing that I would add to that for... I guess completeness sake, I don't know. I saw my favorite busker ever when, like, totally by surprise, when I was in London, England last year. This dude who I had seen on YouTube, discovered on YouTube, is this one-man band, looks like Jimi Hendrix, and he plays guitar like Jimi Hendrix. In this particular video on YouTube, he's playing Metallica, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and rapping Wu-Tang lyrics over top of it.
Oh, yeah.
He starts going, woo, Metallica, woo, Metallica. and people are walking by like, give him money, give him all your money. This guy's the best. And then I was there, and I was like, oh, my God, that's that guy. I couldn't believe it. and I had no money in my pocket to give him.
No.
Yeah, I took a video and walked by and didn't give him anything.
Did you at least give him a YouTube comment or something when you went home?
No,
Did
I
you give him
didn't.
any more hits?
No,
A thumbs up on the video?
I posted his video on my Facebook page.
No one's gonna see that.
No, it got
Did you
like
sponsor
one
the
like.
ad?
No, you're right. Yeah, no, I didn't.
Sponsor that.
Yeah, you got to boost that post.
That would have been your change if you put your pocket change into sponsoring the video of him. I mean, that's net neutral in the new millennium. I don't know if that made any sense.
net neutrality.
Yeah, we're fighting. Are we fighting for net
I was
neutrality?
just gonna ask that. Are we for or against it?
I know that there's a side that I'm on.
Yeah.
But I'm not certain as to the language that describes my side.
I've been on the East Coast 5 days, and it's really coming out.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Net neutrality?
No, just words sounding like they can fit together, but they don't really.
Is that when you're fishing but you don't catch anything?
Net neutrality, yeah. Well, I usually find whenever I'm fishing with a net, I put a couple fish in the net to begin with. Salt the net, and then the fish will swim and they'll be like, oh, the hip new spot in the ocean.
Hey, what are they doing there? Yeah, I want to be cool. I want to do.
Looks like there's a lot of change in that net.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then I kill them and eat them.
So, if all of your friends were caught in a fish net, would you join them?
I feel like I have before. Maybe in the future, no. I've done it before and it's been a good idea. I've done it and it's been a bad idea. And I feel like, for the most part, now I judge case by case. Sometimes you got to get caught in the net, though. But sometimes it's your friends are idiots.
Wise words.
That's what I feel like. Those like ads targeted to kids should just be more upfront like that. Like, sometimes your friends are so dumb and you should just not listen to them.
But other times, you should totally do what they're doing.
Don't be a downer.
Yeah,
Have some
not
fun.
forever. Just try it.
Yeah.
You might like it.
Yeah. You'll definitely be cool.
Yeah. I feel like those ads maybe, like for weed and stuff, the ad could be drugs. We sell them now.
It used to not be cool. It's like kind of fine now.
Yeah. Now it's a be careful.
Yeah.
It's like crossing the street now.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place.
Yeah, you're not going to go to jail anymore. Shut up.
Yeah.
Just, yeah. Cool. All right, let's check in with Steve.
Yes, hello.
Steve Brown, the elusive, mysterious Steve Brown, a hero in this town and many others. What up?
Oh, not too much. Feel a bit out of place. I don't have any real projects I've been working on. I just finished some heavy schooling.
That is a huge project.
Yeah.
And can you tell us what kind of heavy schooling you've been working on?
Yes, I just completed a master's degree in engineering physics.
Engineering physics. Boring.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know what it was before I started doing it, so anytime I talk to someone, I know for a fact that they don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You
So
ever
what do you
heard
do?
of thin films? Thin films. They're everywhere. You don't see them. They're too small.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Maybe-
These guys have got glasses covered in thin films.
Okay.
Why do you think they don't reflect?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's not because the glasses are good. It's because thin films.
Thin
Stop
films. So what does that have to do with engineering and or physics?
it. Well, somebody's got to build the thin films. That's the engineering part. Somebody's got to understand how the small things work together to make something that's also very small. That's the physics part. Companies give you money. That's the engineering part.
Do you find whenever you're working on a project, you just bring a little money on the floor so that the companies come along?
They react to that very well, very well.
You're like, we're getting funding from these guys.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, very honestly, that's the exact same thing. You could definitely drag in more funders if you already say, like, well, these guys have committed for this amount, like, and I mean, these are these guys. Like, surely you could toss me something.
I know. Yeah, I mean, we really would rather be sponsored by you.
Yeah.
We just got this new machine, and it was, I don't know, $3.5 million. But I mean, we're thinking about the $6 million one.
Think about what we could do. Think about what a hero you could be.
Yeah, you could have your name on this. Every time somebody uses it, they think about you. That's a marketing opportunity.
I like using that to describe a thing that you described earlier as everywhere, but nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
You could have your name.
Is it everywhere, but nobody talks about it?
No, but everybody still needs it.
Uh-huh.
Why?
So why thin films, Steve?
Because I was working in a field I didn't really like, and I said, oh, maybe I can go into a field where I use all of the schooling I've done instead of it just making me better at my job. And so I went on the universities in Montreal and said, oh, who will let me into their university for something? I found that Polytechnique Montreal had an engineering physics program. I had done a bachelor's degree in math and physics, so I figured I could probably do it, or probably had the background that they would let me do it. They also had this thing where you didn't have to get accepted to the master's program. You could get accepted into this certificate program, and then as long as you do well enough, you can jump over.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you did well enough?
Yeah. It's because my academic history is a bit checkered.
Why? I don't know if we need to go into why. But I share that, I would say.
Yeah.
I would have similar concerns.
I would say checkered patterns are back. I don't know if you've been seeing young fashionistas, but
You've
checkered.
been seeing the sides of people's heads lately.
The checkered print, ska is coming back.
Oh, yeah? The sneakers have always been in style.
Yeah, but you're seeing it in pants, you're seeing it on shirts. Oh, it's everywhere.
Oh, really? Maybe in Montreal, not in St. John.
Well, it's coming.
Coming.
The East Coast is always about 8 months to 12 late to the latest trends.
Will there be checkered pajama pants?
Oh, I feel like that's a true niche.
Hey.
I'm sure they're out there.
Okay, good to know. I appreciate that. So, Steve, you used to be the front man in a band, co-front man, I guess, called Money in the Banana Stand.
That is right.
Post that, you were a solo artist?
Yeah, I did some stuff. I was also played bass in a band, Year of the Rat, that I also sang for at the end of it because we had to kick out our singer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he was annoying.
I was going to say, care to elaborate? But
Sure. Well, I mean, he was just annoying. He was like really willing to, but it's like, I find it's funny because we're like a hardcore band, like an 80s hardcore band, but it's like you can have any number of friends who love 80s hardcore, but it's surprisingly difficult to get somebody who, whenever they get in front of a microphone, is actually willing to yell. Kind of on the, like, especially if you're trying to record something, like, get them there and have someone who's willing to just yell in a basement while they're wearing headphones and there's no other sounds around.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so that's basically what got that guy the job.
Wow. Yeah, because you've got to be committed, and that's the thing, because if you are not, like, really giving it, you can hear it on the recording. It just doesn't sound cool.
Yeah, completely. But he was also, I remember we were playing a show one time, and it's like we were all literally standing on stage waiting for him, and then apparently he was outside smoking a cigarette, and then somebody was like, hey, I think you guys are supposed to be on now. And he goes, make him wait.
Ah,
It's like not just the audience, the rest of his band members.
yeah, diva.
Yeah. Little too rock star considering, I mean, he wasn't writing the words either. He was just
really?
yelling them, like literally, that's all he was doing.
Oh, yeah, that's like, what are you bringing to the table here, dude?
Well, a willingness to yell.
I mean, it's funny because you do need, like, that kind of persona is an essential component of the lead singer in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
But it's also why they're often the most annoying member of the band.
Yeah.
Yeah, wild. You're the rat. Jane always laughs because one year Mom was attempting to describe that band Steve plays in, Rat Something.
Mm-hmm.
Jane thinks that's really funny. She will frequently laugh about Rat Something.
Rat Something.
Uh-huh. You also played bass in the group, celebrated PEI indie group Boxer the Horse, correct?
Yeah. I started playing bass with them just in time for their demise.
Yeah.
Would you say you caused it?
I would like to think I did. I don't think I caused it. I got some good compliments from people that I am happy to get compliments from about my playing in that band.
Oh, I thought you did great. I saw you play with them.
Yeah, but it was really things were dwindling, coming to an end, and I got on that train just as it started to leave the tracks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like go off the rails, not leave from the station towards greener pastures.
Or not like kind of float into space or
No,
something.
not
I can already picture the 80s style album cover, the train going into space,
Yeah.
all the band members hanging at the side of the caboose,
yeah.
Hey, yeah. One person hanging off the next person's foot.
the moon shining brightly in the background.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's all, folks.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's one other thing I was thinking about is that it's funny in bands. I it's fun to perform. I think it's fun to perform. And so I've done James's show Squad Laughs a handful of times too, where that's fun to perform. You get sort of a similar rush. And then also in the context of the school stuff I did, sometimes you have to perform. With giving presentations I'm really good at, I think, because I've gotten so comfortable in front of groups of people where I need to do something, and it's but I know that you need to practice the thing beforehand, and if you get good enough at it, it will sort of take over on its own. But that one's not really fun to do.
What do you mean?
Well, it's kind of just more boring. Because it's you present the thing, and it's sort of half something that you did, but I don't get really a creative outlet on it. And then at the end, instead of people clapping, well, I mean, they do clap sometimes, but then they kind of just grill you for a while. So imagine if you played a song and they were yeah, on that third chorus, they get given the microphone. And on that third chorus there, I noticed that you guys kind of slowed it down. I really thought you should have picked it up a little bit. And then maybe it would have driven a little more, and people would have reacted a little more positively to your set.
Right. Yeah.
This just sounds like smoking outside the show afterwards.
Yes,
No
exactly.
kidding. You got that one friend or that one fan who's you don't really know what his agenda is.
Yeah.
I know. Well, I filled in with a band on drums, and they had this fan who I guess I found out later, a week later, that this guy is a drummer and he wanted to be the drummer in the band.
Okay, yeah.
But he was grilling me. He's
Yeah,
how'd you
yeah.
get this gig? First show with the band or what?
Yeah.
And he's as I was playing, there was something, the hi-hat pedal was weird, and it was I thought that he knew something about this piece of gear because he was as one song started, he's waving at me and he's pointing, and I'm what's up, man? Are you trying to tell me? And I was looking at it, trying to figure out what the thing is as I'm waiting for my part to come in. And eventually I was I don't know what you're saying. It's working fine, whatever. And after the show, he tells me, yeah, I was trying to get your attention because the snare was turned off. And I'm yeah, I turned it off.
Yeah.
Ugh, buddy.
Good.
Yeah.
You want to
Anyway.
say his name?
No, I don't know his name. Yeah, come on, George. No, I actually don't know his name.
Is
Cool.
he the drummer in the band now?
No. Ooh, burn. Sorry, dude. Sorry, not sorry.
You know what, though, actually? Lars Ulrich really could have used him in the St. Anger recording sessions. That would have been a real help.
Why do you say that?
Because he famously turned off the snares for no reason.
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah,
then
the
yeah.
snares
just there to be like,
stock.
turn those back on, Lars. You're a goddamn idiot. I feel like it would, I mean, it'd be a little bit stock, yes, but sometimes that's not such a bad thing.
The thing with a guy like that, and this is also true of bands, I will say no more than that, but we're like, what could you say to Lars that would really get through to him?
I'm stealing your art.
No, first you'd have to be his father.
Step one, become his father.
All right.
And
Now we're getting somewhere.
maybe something like, if I was your advisor, I would say, delete that.
Napster's coming back.
Yeah. Okay. We probably ought to wrap this up soon. So let's get the lowdown on this other character who we've heard from but not about, Micah Brown.
Hello.
What's up, man?
Oh, I'm just here in beautiful Richmond, Prince Edward Island.
Uh-huh. What have you been up to lately?
What have I been up to lately? So as far as musical endeavors go, and I do mostly production, but I've worked in fabrication too for some music stuff.
At the music factory.
At the music
Fabrication.
factory.
Making stuff up. Fabricating. We're buying likes. I operate a click farm.
Yeah, so I do production for bands, so I'll record their demos, their EPs. Sometimes I do records for bands who really, want to work with me for that amount of time. Mostly punk, hardcore, indie rock sort of things. Sometimes more on the like indie pop, electronic side of things. So I do that. I've been doing it for a little while. I have a couple small spaces that I do it in Montreal. I have a shared studio space that I'm sort of the manager of, so that's part of the pie. I'm getting laughs from the peanut gallery. I've fronted bands, Gutless Wonder with James. I had a band in Newfoundland called Mons. I played in an emo band called Little Things.
Yeah.
In Montreal, the band I fronted was called Brandon.
Fronted. That's no longer happening?
Well, it's just sort of, it doesn't have a lot of steam behind it. I'm still writing music, but Brandon is an exceptionally ungoogleable name. And
Right.
There's only about 1 million artists named Brandon on Spotify. And we thought it was really funny at first.
Yeah.
And then you realize you're the least popular Brandon. And not only that, too. They hodgepodged us in with a bunch of other single name Brandons on Spotify. So it was impossible to find our music because you would find the page, but then you'd have to scroll down to the EP, and before that would be a bunch of electronic music.
Right.
A Brandon who was actually Brandon asterisk, but they wouldn't give Brandon the asterisk on Spotify. But then an amateur rapper, not that we're not amateur rockers, but a truly amateur rapper started performing under Brandon, and he released about 30 tracks in 2018, so he really buried us. And at that point, I just sort of thought, maybe not maybe not the best idea. So still writing music, but probably going to be under a different name. And yeah, and then I've, played and play in different bands and projects. I played in Deadbeat Poets Society. I played in an assortment of local bands when I lived in St. John's, Newfoundland. And sometimes I play with the band Fog Lake. doing Aaron Powell's solo project. I'm in the backing band, so I play in that band sometimes, and have done some traveling, done a bit of touring with that act. So that's sort of the spread. The manufacturing part, I worked for a guitar pedal company for a little while, and sort of got some exposure to music, electronics, and sort of making things, and that whole community and side of things. So, and actively trying to, keep continuously being exposed to that. Doing some stuff at home now that I no longer work there. Building a drum machine for a friend right now.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, from a kit. It's nothing too crazy, but like I don't have a strong electronics background, so I'm trying to pick it up as I go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a Pearl Syncussion clone. So doing that right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you showed me the thing, because I was going to say I'm not familiar with the Pearl Syncussion, but I think you actually sent me a link at some point.
Yeah, it has two voices, and they're both the same. People typically use it for toms. And so there's pretty bleepy bloopy voices, and there's a lot of sliders. It's very it's like the sounds are very accessible to change, and yeah, it's cool. It's a neat piece. It's taken me a long time to make it, but yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's sort of the stuff.
That's the stuff. All right. Should we wrap it up? Is it time for book club?
Yeah, we got to go to book club, everybody.
Does anybody have anything they want to add?
Should I say who did it? Might ruin the book for people.
They don't know what book it is.
It was Stapleton.
Whoa, dude.
But is his last name Stapleton?
Not really. He changed it. And his sister is his wife.
Whoa.
Gross.
All right.
All right. Cool. Well, thanks for doing this, you guys.
Hey, thanks for having
Thanks
us.
for having us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Bye-bye. There you have it. I think I say that at the end of every interview. There you have it, folks. I hope you had fun listening along. I had a great time hanging out with those guys. You can check their stuff out. I'm going to have a bunch of links to things they've worked on at the show notes, which you can find at learndrums.ca/hitmakers. Okay, talk to you next time. Bye-bye.